what it is. I love it. Yeah. I love it. Let's talk about it.
Cellular respiration is an aerobic process. This means that it will only happen when oxygen is present. Now, the equation for cellular respiration is 1 glucose and 6 oxygen molecules, which yields, or the products are, 6 carbon dioxide molecules plus 6 water molecules and 38 ATP. Now, ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. We're going to hear more about that later on, but basically that is energy. The first step in cellular respiration is glycolysis. Now, glycolysis takes place in the cytoplasm of a cell. In the first step of glycolysis, 2 ATP molecules come together with that 6 carbon glucose molecule, and they drop off one of their phosphate groups, one to each side. So as you can see in this diagram, we now have a phosphate, then the 6 carbon, and then another phosphate group. We are left with 2 ADP. Now this stands for adenosine diphosphate, because now we only have 2 phosphate groups on that adenosine instead of 3, because each one of them gave up one of their phosphate groups to that glucose molecule. Now that glucose molecule will break up into, as you can see to the right, this will be the group to the left, the top one is the group to the left, so split down the middle, and now it has a phosphate group to the left, and then a 3 carbon molecule. The bottom one is the one to the right, and that has 3 carbons plus a phosphate group to the right. Now, those molecules, for some odd reason that cannot be explained, some weird phenomenon, the phosphate groups want to be to the right, so the top one is actually going to flip, and that brings us to the next slide. The molecule at the top switched, and now it looks exactly like the bottom. Each one of these molecules is going to combine with a NAD+, which is just a carrier molecule, and a phosphate group to form what we see to the right, which is a 3 carbon group with a phosphate to the left and to the right. This reaction also produces NADH, which has 2 electrons, which you can see I diagrammed for you at the top there. What happens from here is the NADH with the 2 electrons will just go up to the side for now, and these 3 carbon with 2 phosphates will enter this part of the glycolysis. So what we have here is the 3 carbon molecule with a phosphate on either side will come together with 2 ADP molecules, and it will actually give them the phosphates, which will form 2 ATP. Now, of course, I'm only talking about the top. This is actually happening the top and bottom. So what we get is 4 ATP total and a pyruvic acid. This slide is like the overview of glycolysis. The reactants are glucose, which comes together with 2 ATP, and also another reactant that comes into the equation is 2 NAD+ molecules. Now the products are 2 pyruvic acid molecules, which are the 3 carbon molecules that I showed you in the last slide, and also 4 ATP molecules and 2 NADH molecules with the 2 electrons. The net ATP of glycolysis is 2. Some might say, yo, V-Money, how'd you get that? I'm like, dog, it's pretty simple. When you enter 2 ATP into the equation and you get 4, you subtract that 2 that you entered in there, so 4 minus 2, yeah, that's right, yeah, you know that, yeah, it's 2, that's what I thought. So we get a net of 2 ATP through glycolysis. And that concludes the first step, but hey, stick around because the pyruvic acid molecules are going to be driving around in a Ferrari. That's right, I said it, in a Ferrari.